Hello, and welcome to the Homeschooling and Loving It podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, your friend at homeschool.com and homeschool mom of 6. Join us as we keep it real and chat about the ups and downs of this amazing adventure we call the homeschool life. So grab a cup of your warm favorite and a comfy chair, and let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to homeschool.com's Homeschooling and Loving It podcast. We are thrilled to have you with us again, and we're super excited about today's guest educator. In today's episode, we're going to unravel the mysteries behind those lines and loops and curves that eventually form written words. From preschoolers clutching those oversized pencils to middle schoolers perfecting their writing, their handwriting, making it beautiful. We're here to help answer your handwriting questions. And so with that in mind, we've invited Nikki Wilson to share her insights today. And Nikki has over 20 years of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. And she is the creator of Rhythm and Writing, which is a fun and exciting handwriting program that teaches kids how to print legibly. And so I know one of the biggest challenges that we face as parent educators is that we get that question from our kids is, why do I have to do this, mommy or daddy? Why do I have to practice my handwriting? I can write. It's fine like it is. Or I know there are so many reasons, and I would love for you to share some of those and some of your insight with us, Nikki.
Okay, well, it's easy to explain the reasons to a parent.
Yeah.
As far as the letters, learning to write the letters helps with letter recognition. And so that is one thing that you can explain to your kids is that it will help you read better also. Once you master or remember what the letters are with practice, then your reading will get better. So another reason that's easy to explain to our parents is that it leads again to the further literacy development, and so again, that's a repetition on what I just said. It will lead to reading being easier for our kiddos. Another reason for teaching handwriting is that we want them to practice so that it becomes automatic and so that they have to spend less time trying to figure out how a letter is formed so that they'd be able to, okay, this is what we could say. They'll be able to finish their homework quicker. Once they get able to write their letters automatically and their formation is better, it'll flow from left to right easier and they'll get done with their handwriting and their assignments faster. So that's a good reason or an excuse that you could tell your kids as to why it's important for them to learn how to form their letters properly and to practice.
I love how you put that. For the kids who struggle, that they always want to have that personal reason, something that's going to benefit me and getting done with my work quicker.
Yes.
Definitely a motivator. I can say that. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. All of these reasons really build on one another from what you're saying in building a child's literacy, the complete package. And so as they work through these components, obviously they're kind of, depending on the child and where they're at in their education, they're learning how to read, learning how to write, and it's kind of all happening kind of simultaneously.
Right.
So they are skills that build and really function off of one another. And so I love how you put all those different reasons. They're very helpful. Helps a parent to see that a little more clearly that it's all encompassing. It's a needful thing.
I'd like to interject too. College really starts in kindergarten. We start preparing our kids for college at such a young age. And so that's another thing that you could kind of explain to the kids and, ask them what they want to be when they get older. Of course, it will change, but whatever it is, it's going to require them to do some type of writing. And so as they get older, then maybe you're talking about the job descriptions, or even when they're younger, talk about, okay, well, astronauts, they have to, document what they're saying, or they have to be able to draw straight lines for their trajectories and all of that. So you can kind of link it to what they want to be when they get older too.
Absolutely. That gives them that end goal in mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good, good, good. So as we work with our children and we are in the thick of it, what are some common hurdles that you frequently see and maybe some suggestions for how we can help them through those?
Some of the common hurdles are sizing and placement within lines. Something that I do, which has proven to be effective, is I will have rectangles, or I'll highlight the lines. If I'm using wide ruled paper for the younger kids, I'll use two of those lines and I'll highlight the top line, skip one and highlight the other to give them an additional visual cue for the sizing and the placement within the lines. I will also, for kids who aren't quite ready for that, or even who are ready but still have difficulty for spacing between letters, I'll put vertical lines in between to help them place one letter in each box. And then as they progress and their sizing gets better, then you can decrease the size of the rectangle or the lines that you're working, and that will facilitate the sizing difficulties. Another thing that I do, and which is actually included in the my handwriting program, we have practice sheets, and the practice sheets are color coded. And so the top line is green for go, the yellow line, the middle line is yellow for slow down, and the bottom line is red for stop. And so that provides an additional cue for the sizing of uppercase and lowercase letters. Another issue is spacing that I have seen difficulties with it, but I have to be honest and say that it's usually the adults who have more problems with the spacing than the children do. They don't recognize it, and so the adult frustration, how you share that with your children, then they become more frustrated with it. So ultimately, there are kids who just don't like to write. And that's one of the most difficult hurdles that I've had is kids just, some of them don't like to write. And it's usually boys that don't like to write. The girls, they enjoy writing. A lot of them do. The majority of the girls that I work with, they're okay with writing. It's the boys that really, really don't want to sit. They don't want to practice. And so we have to make it fun for them. And so that's what the handwriting program does by incorporating the rhyme and the music into them. It makes it fun for the kids. But we also have to try to make it fun for the kids also. Don't make such a big deal. If they're distracted, okay, let them take a break, see if they'll get back on track, and then redirect them. But sit down and write with them. Another thing that I do is have them use markers, different colored markers. They don't have to use pencils. And instead of doing connecting the dots, then for the letter formations, what I'll do is I'll use a highlighter and have them trace on top of the highlighted letters. So ultimately, we have to make it fun for the kids, something that they dislike, make it as enjoyable as possible, give extravagant praise when they're doing amazing, correct them kindly.
Yes, I love that. I feel like that is really what makes the difference in the end. If we can figure out a way to make the learning process as fun as possible, it changes everything. Then there's smiles all around instead of frustration or tears and all of that good stuff. So thank you. Very good. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of handwriting. We've talked about some of the hurdles that we face. How does all of this handwriting process and helping kids overcome, how does that tie into your program with the rhythm part?
Okay. Well, I've had kids that I just couldn't get through. We're working on the handwriting and they just didn't get it. And so one day I just let me put a rhyme to each letter. And so finally, a kid that I could not get to write his name, Tristan, he was the first kid that I tried it with. I put a rhyme to every letter. So T, capital T, long line down and across the top. And even the inflections that I'm saying with the kids makes it, a little bit more interesting. And then the lowercase r, down, back up, then a hook. A, make a C, close it up, bring it down. S, up, around, across, around, and up. T, long line down and across the middle. A, make a C, close it up, bring it down, and then N, down, back up, and a hop. And so once I put it to rhyme, and we practiced using the tracing strategy with the highlighting, and he would use the marker to go over it. With repetition, he got it. And he remembered the rhymes. And this is a kid on a spectrum. So he remembered the rhymes, and then he started to write them independently. So once that happened with him, then I just decided to put all the letters of the alphabet to rhyme. And then after that, I worked with my cousin who put my rhymes to music. And then he also made the lyric videos to go along with them. So just that connection of the rhyme and then the music, it just clicked for the kids. And we see it all the time, like with the alphabet song, and when we're learning the states, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, when we learn that, it helps. It makes it fun, and we finally get it.
So it's one of those tools that helps the knowledge stick in their minds. I love it.
Absolutely. And then the impact of music on your brain also, it impacts the limbic system, makes you excited. It helps you remember your motor planning, so music also impacts various areas of the brain, stimulates various areas of the brain to help with the learning process.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so how can we as homeschool parents take this the next step? How do we put this into practice? So when I would like to know, I guess, basically, I'm just wanting to know more about your program. And is it kind of like an open and go thing where homeschool parents can just get this and super easy? They just tell us about your program.
Okay. Well, there are different components to the program.
Okay.
The easiest is just to get access to the website. And through access to the website, then you'll be able to have access to the lyric videos, which show the kids how to form the letters. There is also an accompanying workbook that goes with it, which I like the combination of both the workbook and the website, because there's additional things that you can do with the workbook. So like with the workbook that's divided into episodes, I call them episodes instead of chapters for the kids' sake. And so for each episode, it has a story. And so you could work on the kids following along with the story. You could work on recognition of letters, sight words, recollection of what the story is about. And each episode has something that you could talk further about. Like one of the episodes is called Paralympic Spirit. And so during that one of the characters of the Get Right crew, who is the musical group who teaches the letter formations through music, his name's Mo Rock, and he is an amputee. So he's in a wheelchair, but he plays the drums somehow. And so, during that episode, you can talk about the Paralympics. You can talk about those who are disabled. We have an episode called Money Matters. And so during that, you can talk about coins and counting change, saving money, things like that. So that's why I like the combination of the workbook and the website. Mm-hmm. It does cost a little more to have both, though. So those families who have less of a budget, then they'd be able to just purchase the website, which is good for a year. You have access to the website for a year. And then the kids would enjoy that. And kids, they love the songs. They love the songs, and they never get tired of them. And so with repetition, the kids will learn how to write their letters properly.
Wonderful. So if a parent just uses the website, do they need anything else besides the website to help teach their children, or can they just use a paper and any type of pencil, or is there certain things that they should use?
They can use just a regular paper and pencil. I'm using probably the strategies that I recommended earlier, if necessary, like highlighting the larger size paper. I like using wide ruled paper better than the kindergarten, uh, that brown paper, because it tears so easily.
Yeah, it does.
So if you don't have access to or able to purchase our practice sheets, which are more durable, they're 80-pound sheets, so they can withstand some erasing. Just use regular wide ruled paper and highlight, make the lines larger if necessary, and just use a regular pencil. And in regards to the pencil use, I definitely like the idea of the broken crayons and using the smaller size pencils to facilitate an appropriate grasp. But that does develop eventually. And further down the line, if it doesn't develop appropriately, that's when you would consider reaching out to an occupational therapist.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. All
Yes.
right. So as we wrap up today's episode, are there any other tips or pointers that you'd like to share with our parent community about writing and teaching writing in the homeschool?
I just would like to give a few OT tips.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things that I recommend is using graph paper for math problems. If your child is having a hard time aligning their math problems properly, give them graph paper or create graph paper on your own, depending on the sizing of their numbers that they're forming. So definitely use graph paper to give that extra visual cue for the placement of the letters and even the carrying, that also helps. And I talked about tracing instead of connecting the dots. So definitely use the highlighting instead of connecting the dots initially, because that's a whole nother level of skill required with the connecting the dots. Not only are they going to have to go from dot to dot in different planes, they're also going to have to focus on the numbers. So they're counting while they're connecting the dots as well. So if you're just only working on handwriting, then just focus on using highlighters and tracing with a darker color instead of connecting the dots. I also recommend starting to write around between 4 and 5 years old. Let them color, work on developing that grasp and the muscles within their hands, staying inside the lines while they're coloring, which would hopefully lead to them staying inside the lines when they're writing as well. So around 4 years old is when I would recommend starting to write. And then another thing that I like to do is, incorporate music into everything, make it fun. And one of the things that I do is I teach my kids how to spell their names through song. So that's something easy that you can teach your kids to write their first name or last name. Just figure out a song that's only for them, and then that'll help them remember to spell their name correctly.
I love those tips. Very helpful. And you know what? You brought up that about the graph paper and numbers. We seldom really think about the fact that writing numbers is also part of this whole handwriting thing. But yeah, super, super ideas. I really appreciate you sharing those with us. Thank you so much for joining us today. I feel like this program is just that missing link, for those of us who struggle with teaching our little ones how to get started. And I feel like you hit on a lot of things that just make that process so much more easier.
And the kids will love it too. They will love it.
Yes, and bringing in the smiles, that is so important.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. And for all of our members in our community, I ask you to please visit her website. I will have all of her information in our show notes today, and you can find everything that you need there to check it out and explore rhythm and writing.